My voice trembled as I glared across the table at my father, Victor. The words clawed their way out of me, raw and unsteady. What do you mean you spent what on renovations? Victor leaned back in his chair, cool as ever, swirling his wine like this was just another casual dinner chat. 25 grand, he said with a shrug, a smug little grin tugging at his lips. You wouldn't believe how incredible the house looks now, Sophie. Honestly, you should be proud. Proud? I gripped the table's edge so hard my knuckles turned white. His words sinking in like a punch to the chest. Proud? He was acting like I'd signed up to bankroll his latest self-indulgent project. That's my credit card, Dad, I snapped. My voice shaking with disbelief. You stole from me. Victor's grin didn't falter. Stole? That's a bit harsh, don't you think, Soph? We're family. It's not like I swiped it from some random stranger. Besides, you've got that fancy job, you'll make it back in no time. I stared at him, momentarily speechless. The sheer nerve of this man, my own father, left me reeling. Victor had always been a master of bending the rules to suit himself, but this was a whole new level of shameless. My name's Sophia. And I've spent my adult life clawing my way up as a financial analyst, building something I could stand tall for. Saving money isn't just a habit, it's who I am. That $25,000 wasn't pocket change. It was 6 years of grit, skipped getaways, and late nights crunching numbers. Meanwhile, Victor? He's the king of big talk, bigger dreams, and spending cash that's never his. Growing up, I learned fast. He borrows what he doesn't return, dodges debts like they're a game, and laughs off every favor he twists into a punchline. Relax, it's just family. He'd say with that infuriating wink. But this time I wasn't laughing. Do you have any idea what that money meant to me? I said, my voice quaking with fury. Do you even care that you stole from your own daughter? Victor rolled his eyes like I was the one being ridiculous. Oh, come on, don't be so dramatic. It's just money. The house needed some upgrades and you were in a spot to help out. You didn't ask me. I shot back, slamming my hand on the table. You stole my credit card without a word. That's not helping, that's theft. He shrugged again, draining his glass. Well, what's done is done. No use crying over it now. My stomach twisted as I stared at him. His total lack of remorse burning a hole through me. Victor had skated by on charm for years, talking his way out of every mess he made. Not this time. This time. He'd crossed a line I didn't even know he could find. That night, sleep was a distant dream. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, his words looping in my head. You'll make it back in no time. How could he be so flippant after robbing me blind? I'd poured my soul into that savings, and he'd torched it on a whim. Finally, I dragged myself out of bed, yanked my laptop open, and logged into my credit card account. The transactions hit me like a freight train. $7,500 at a hardware store, $11,000 on roofing, $500 for landscaping, every charge a glaring monument to his selfishness. I clicked deeper, my pulse racing, and there it was. Every shipping address tied straight to Victor's house. Proof. Cold, hard proof. The next morning I called the bank, my voice steady as I reported the fraud. The rep listened quietly as I spilled it all. The stolen card, the unauthorized charges. Do you know who made these transactions? She asked. Yeah, I said, swallowing hard. My father. A pause. We'll need to escalate this to our fraud team, she replied. They might involve law enforcement, depending on the details. Law enforcement. The words slammed into me, but what choice did I have? Victor had backed me into this corner. If he thought family ties gave him a free pass to trample me, he was dead wrong. Later, I vented to my best friend, Emma, her face darkening with every word. That's beyond messed up, Soph. She said, her voice sharp. You've got to make him answer for this. He can't keep treating you like his personal piggy bank. I know, I muttered, raking a hand through my hair. But he's my dad. It's complicated. Complicated or not, this isn't just about cash, Emma fired back. It's about respect or the total lack of it. He doesn't respect you. Her words hit like a lightning bolt. She was right. This wasn't just about the money. It was about drawing a line Victor had never respected. The next day I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the fraud report I'd filed. Victor's smug grin from dinner haunted me, the way he'd brushed me off like I was overreacting. I had to face him again. When I pulled up to his house, he was outside, gloating over his pristine new yard. Looks amazing, right? He called, beaming. All thanks to you. My blood boiled. Thanks to me. I snapped. You mean thanks to the $25,000 you stole? He sighed, shaking his head. Soph, we've been over this. It's family money. I didn't steal, I borrowed. You're young, you'll bounce back. You don't borrow without asking. I yelled. You took it, Victor. That's theft, plain and simple. His grin faded, his arms crossing tight. You're making a mountain out of nothing. I'm your father, I've done so much for you. Can't you let this slide? Done so much. I laughed, bitter and sharp. Like what? Using me as your backup plan my whole life? This is the first time you got caught. His eyes narrowed. Watch it. Sophia. You're being ungrateful. I didn't have to raise you, I could have left it all to your mom. The jab stung, but I held my ground. Ungrateful? I've been cleaning up your messes forever. This is where it stops. His unease flickered, but I wasn't done. I've already filed the fraud report. The bank's on it. If you think I'm backing off, you don't know me at all. The call from the bank's fraud team came the next morning. We've reviewed the charges, Mr. Carter, the investigator said. The shipping address is tied to your father's place. It's clear these were unauthorized. We'll need your formal statement, and this'll likely go to the police. Could he face charges? I asked, my voice tight. Absolutely, Carter replied. This is theft, serious theft. The police will decide what happens next. I hung up, hands shaking. This was real now. Victor had dodged consequences his whole life, but not anymore. Emma was my rock when I called her. He's gonna flip when the cops show up, I said, pacing. What if this wrecks us for good? What relationship, Soph? She countered. He's been stomping on you forever. This isn't about wrecking anything, it's about protecting yourself. She was right. I'd spent years avoiding this fight, keeping the peace at my own expense. No more. That evening, my phone lit up with Victor's name. I answered, bracing myself. Sophia, he barked, the bank just called. You filed a fraud report? Against me? Yeah, I said. Calm but firm. You stole $25,000. What did you expect? I didn't steal, he growled. It's family money. I'd have paid you back eventually. Now you've turned this into a damn circus. Do you know what this could do to me? You did this, I shot back. You took my card, spent my money. Actions have consequences, Victor. You're blowing this out of proportion, he sneered. What's next, dragging me to court? If that's what it takes, I said. You've crossed every line I've got. I'm done. You'll regret this, he hissed, his voice ice cold, then hung up. Fear and fury churned inside me, but I called Emma. He said I'll regret it, I told her, voice tight. Let him sulk, she said. He's just pissed he's finally caught. Don't let him scare you. She was right, but the dread lingered. 2 days later, my mom, Claire, called, her tone dripping with exasperation. Sophia, what are you doing? Victor's a wreck, he says you're ruining him. I'm not ruining him, I said, steeling myself. He stole $25,000 from me. I reported it. That's it. He's your father, she snapped. Like that erased everything. And I'm his daughter. I fired back. Did that stop him from screwing me over? Claire sighed. You know how he is, he doesn't mean harm. Couldn't you have kept this quiet? Quiet? I echoed, incredulous. He spent my money, Mom. How do I hush that up? He's under stress, she pleaded. Please drop this, it'll destroy him. No, I said, firm. He did this. I'm not bailing him out again. Silence. Then coldly, don't come crying to me when this explodes. She hung up. A week later, the bank confirmed the charges were flagged as fraud, and the police were involved. I met with them, handing over the evidence in a sterile little room. We'll contact Mr. Taylor soon, the officer said. I nodded, wondering how Victor would spin this. That night, Claire called again. The police were at his house today, she said, furious. How could you humiliate him like this? He humiliated himself, I replied. I'm just done pretending it's fine. She hung up again. But I felt lighter driving home. Victor was finally facing the music. When the charges hit, official theft, I felt relief and a pang of sadness. Claire called, subdued. He's scared, Soph. He doesn't know what to do. He should have thought of that before, I said. You won't help him? She asked. He's not the victim here, I replied. I'm done with that story. I hope you're okay, she said quietly, surprising me. I am, I said. For the first time, I really am. The bank reversed the charges weeks later, my account whole again. Victor was scrambling for a plea deal. But I didn't care. Emma toasted me one night with wine. To boundaries, she grinned. To waking up, I laughed. I'd taken back my life, and that was worth everything.